So yeah, I cut all my hair off. I just wanted to. I think that taking risks and making big changes and doing things that are just for yourself, regardless of what anyone else thinks or is going to say about you, are really important things to do to help you get to know yourself better and to grow as a human being. And we all have different risks and challenges that we would be comfortable with, that we maybe wouldn't even consider a risk, and we all have different ones that would be totally scary. Like I said that
I've always been someone who has to really think about things before I do them. I sit with the idea, analyze it from all angles, question if it's a risk worth taking. My dreams and fears keep me awake for weeks, years, before I finally take the plunge. It took me 5 years after realizing I might be trans before I took that first step of cutting my hair. It was another 1.5 years before I came out and started testosterone. I've been thinking about these pivotal moments in my life a lot this year, as I've embarked on another big one. Leaving the city I've called home for 14 years and moving to a small town where I don't know anyone. Like the other major transitions in my life, I have no other reason for doing it except that it just feels right. Sure, then, like now, I made enough pro and con lists to make Rory Gilmore proud. But when the final decision comes down to no more than your own gut feeling, it can be pretty tough to make that final decision. As with transitioning, it took me years of knowing that I wanted to move out of New York City before I finally decided to really do it. In both cases, it came down to a crucial point. I couldn't see my future like that. I couldn't see my future as a woman, and I couldn't see it living in a city. I've known for as long as I have lived in New York that I wouldn't want to settle down, so to speak, in the city. I grew up in Texas by a wooded lake and spent family vacations hiking and camping. I mean, when I was a baby, we lived next door to a farm. I've felt a yearning to once again be surrounded by nature that has only grown over the years. I want to garden, a lot. I want to have my own land and learn how to care for it. I want to grow my own pumpkin patch, which I know sounds very quaint and silly, but ask anyone in my life how serious I am about that. My biggest life goal for a few years now has been to one day, hopefully not so far off, own my own house with a good chunk of land, enough space and privacy to play around and be creative and mess up. Like any other trans guy, I'm literally a self-made man. But for me, that goes beyond gender. I've spent most of my career as a freelancer, and I'm passionate about continuing to learn both new concepts and new skills. I mean, I'm not gonna go off grid or become a homesteader, although I'm not saying that, but I do like being self-sufficient and knowing how to take care of things, and also knowing why things are the way they are and how we got here. I kind of feel like I DIY'd my gender, and now I want to DIY the rest of my life. Just keep learning and creating a life that is more and more like the one I want to be living. A big part of that for me is living a bit of a slower life than I could in New York City. A little quieter, more nature, and hopefully one day a place I actually own and which I can feel free to change and experiment with as I please. But leaving was hard, because it meant leaving so many people I had come to love, so many connections that had grown into deep roots, anchoring me to New York City with tendrils of support and blooms of excitement and opportunity. But I always felt like I was just making things work there, not fully living in the ways I wanted to. Historian Susan Stryker has a great bit in her piece on Frankenstein talking about transitioning. She says, quote, "I was starving in the midst of plenty. I would not let myself starve, even if what it took to open myself for a deep connectedness cut off the deepest connections I actually had. So I abandoned one life and built this new one. I hope my old life won't be fully abandoned, and I'm still not entirely sure what this new one will become, but I took the first step to getting there. The first giant leap, really. And like taking those first early steps of transition, this was so hard to actually get myself to do, to not just think about it, but take action. Because even though I wanted it so badly, and I was almost entirely certain it was the right path for me, there were still so many unknowns on the other side. And my current life was familiar, even if I didn't love every part of it. You know, you can picture what a decision will look like so clearly, but you'll still never really know what it's like until you do it. And that's one thing I told myself about this move. Like, you know, hey, maybe it would turn out to be the wrong decision, but I had agonized over it for so long that I at least had to do it just to see. Or else I'd spend the rest of my life wondering. Not expecting that skyline view. Now I'm getting sad. I've lived in New York City for so long that it felt like home, but it also felt like a home that I didn't want to be a forever home and that I wanted to leave. And it occurred to me as I was packing up that, like, I did it. You know, when I was growing up in Texas, I wanted so badly to live in New York City, and it was always just sort of this, like, nebulous dream. And I didn't just actually move to New York City. I stayed for 14 years. I put down roots. This turned into home. Like, New York City is not the dream of New York City to me anymore. It's just home. And now I'm leaving. Why the hell am I leaving?
It's up to you. It's up to you, New York, New York.
Goodbye, New York. I'll be back, but only as a visitor. Sometimes with these major life changes, the first steps don't always feel 100% great. You can see where you want to be, but you're not quite there yet. And you maybe worry that other people can only see your present, not the future that is so clear to you. Hormone replacement therapy doesn't work overnight. It's so much slower than social media timeline videos would lead you to believe, and there are so many awkward phases within it. It turns out that finding the perfect house in the woods doesn't happen overnight either. Except that it almost did for me. I am not in a position to buy a house just yet, but even though I am renting, I was determined to rent a whole house with a yard. One, because that would be the biggest contrast from city life that I was craving, and two, so it could kind of function as training wheels for homeownership, so I could make sure that this lifestyle change was right for me. And I was so close to signing a lease on a rental house that was on several acres of farmland surrounded by woods. Like, big house, multiple vegetable plots, berry bushes, flowers and trees everywhere. It was located exactly where I was looking to move and well within my budget somehow. Like, it was literally like someone plucked my dream visualizations out of my brain, crafted it into reality, and stuck it in a Craigslist post for me to find at just the right time. And to keep up with this whole transition metaphor, have you ever heard someone deliberating about medical transition and say something like, well, if I could take a magic pill and wake up tomorrow with exactly the body I feel like I should have, or with everyone in the world seeing and treating me exactly as I want, then I would do it. But I don't know if the slow, imperfect reality of medical transition is right for me. That's what this house was. It was the magic pill. It would be like I got my dream house immediately from New York City apartment to that, bing, bang, boom, sorted. And instead, I got the reality of slowly transitioning. It was down to me and one other applicant on the magic dream house, and they went with the other applicant. Fortunately, I had just gotten approved for a backup place, and that is where I have ended up. But it is far different from what I was looking for and dreaming about, mostly in terms of like location and outside exterior yardness. And more expensive, just as the icing on the cake there. And to be honest, as reality set in that this was the house that I was moving to instead of the magic dream house, I even started being a little embarrassed to make this video. Like, with the dream house, I had already imagined the title and thumbnail photo for the announcement video. I had ideas for future videos and house projects, and this house, I mean, it is great. It really is. It is starting to feel like home, and I know how lucky I am to have it, or at least rent it for now. But it is kind of like finally taking that huge step of coming out to everyone, maybe starting on hormones and feeling so stoked about getting on the right path, and then still getting misgendered by every stranger you encounter. Or at least maybe looking in the mirror and not seeing the changes that you want just yet. But I know that it is just the start of the journey. It may not be where I want to ultimately be yet, but I am so much closer to my goals now than when I was in New York City, too scared to take the plunge. This was that first giant leap I had to take. And we'll see where I go from here.
Diddling ding dong day.
Risks come in all these different forms and we all react to them in different ways. But I think it's super important to push yourself out of that comfort zone. Whether it's a lifestyle change or a physical change or an adrenaline rush, it will totally reshape how you view yourself and the world and usually other people. The more you experience in life and the more you see the world from a slightly different lens, the more naturally accepting you're gonna be of anyone and anything that you encounter, which I happen to think is a good thing to strive for.
I think that's gonna be the end of the video, but if not, hey, thanks for watching! Click like and subscribe, hit that bell, whatever we say on YouTube these days. I don't know, I've been putting up like one video a year for the past couple of years. Hopefully that changes now. That was one of the things I was excited about in moving to my own place with some fewer commitments and stuff like that, is to focus more on YouTube. So hopefully you'll see more videos from me soon. Also, I do just have to say, I do not make a habit of rewatching my old videos in public, like on subway platforms. And in fact, that video specifically, first of all, is unlisted, so don't go looking for it. But I really didn't like that video, kind of cringe for me to look back on. But when I was talking about these big moves and how it was reminding me of transitioning, a friend of mine actually brought up that video and was like, yeah, you have a tendency to kind of make videos when you do these big major life changes. And then I just kind of got rolling on this idea of like, oh, it'd be really cool to incorporate that video into this one. It was all artistic license, all right? Do I need any other kind of ending for this video? In the comments, let me know what is a big step that you had to take. Maybe it was transitioning, maybe it was something else. If you are someone who has transitioned, is that also something that you like keep comparing to in your head? Like anytime you go through other major life changes, does it remind you of a lot of the thoughts and feelings that you had when you were starting out on transitioning? Because that's what happens to me. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. We'll let the music and the B-roll speak for itself, calmly come out of this video. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.